Hey everybody, good evening. It's Mike Cadieux from the Procurement Foundry here. I am live streaming this evening on, on Facebook, on our Procurement Foundry site, as well as on our YouTube channel on Procurement Foundry as well. We're up and live, so I'm going to hang out for a little bit and see if anybody's got any questions. And in the meantime, I've got a couple of things that I need to write down about stuff that I want to talk about this week in case anybody's interested in having a conversation. I'm going to open up a second screen here this evening so that in case anybody wants to do a walkthrough of the Procurement Foundry, they're more than welcome to do so. And we are live. And I'm going to check my screen share. All right. There we go. We can screen share Procurement Foundry to everybody who wants to listen. All right. We're going to get rid of that. Go back to just me. That is a little crooked. I don't know what the heck is going on with it. All right. And do I have any? No live viewers this evening. Everyone is busy trying to figure out how to get home from the conferences that have been canceled in the last couple of days. And it's 6:05. So, anyway, a couple of things that we want to talk about this evening in the live stream. We want to talk about certainly one of the topics that is pushing the agenda very hard inside of the Procurement Foundry, which is the virus and some of the ways that it's affecting the industry. One of the ways that it's affecting the industry that we're talking about inside of the Procurement Foundry a lot is the conferences that are being shut down. So if you are stranded in San Francisco and you're in a conference right now, or you are going to a conference, a couple of things that are happening in San Francisco, just so you know. TPM was supposed to be taking place right now, but it's not. Some people are attempting to put together a virtual one-day conference. We have offered to assist on that if possible and at least push out their content so that we know that they can we can at least tell everybody that they've got something taking place. I think they were expecting about 2,500 people to go to that conference, and it got canceled on Saturday, from what I understand. It was supposed to go live on Sunday, and people were supposed to be actually collaborating right now, and they aren't. So really interesting. There's a whole bunch of kind of homegrown efforts trying to take place. I've been told that somebody opened up a mini Slack community just for the conference. If you have the name of the mini Slack conference, then you can post it. Hello to the folks that are on Facebook as well as on YouTube. And also, my understanding is that the folks from, let's see, I've got somebody. Oh boy. Yeah, there was a post earlier today that there's supposed to be some type of a virtual conference taking place on Tuesday. So we'll get that information. We'll post it up on the Procurement Foundry feed on LinkedIn in case any of you are interested in the supply chain management conference that has now gone virtual due to the coronavirus scare in California. And I think that they're going to be putting up people who were going to speak. We're going to reach out to some of the speakers that were at that conference as well and see if they'd like to do some webinar and content for Procurement Foundry original content on the supply chain management side. Give them a little bit of a venue and maybe help them boost their own personal brands a little bit and collect up some of that content that was going to be addressed so that we can potentially share it with all of you. So that's about it for the coronavirus information that we have right now. Although I think that I've been hearing a lot of things over the last 24 hours on LinkedIn and through some private messages, some some of the other industry leaders have been reaching out to me, asking me if I know of any other events that are being canceled. There's a big rumor going around that ISM might be canceled for Boston. I don't know anything about that. And I haven't heard anything about that. So I suspect that all of that is still on. Our regional events for the time being will stay on. We don't have a lot of international participation in those events. So I don't think that our regional meetups will hinder from any of that. But I know that it's wreaking havoc in the supply chain right now. So that certainly is one thing that we're talking about. Another thing that's going on inside of the Procurement Foundry right now is that we are working diligently on the mentoring program. So we've stopped our efforts to reach out to the actual universities themselves, and we are designing a mentor program. We're going to be adding on to our website and just taking in mentor candidates as opposed to trying to work with the schools, because quite candidly, we can't get anybody at the schools to call us back. So yeah, exactly. Gareth Lynn Gareth says that travel's been canceled for company policy standout could contribute to low attendees at the conferences. Absolutely no question about that. My understanding is that a lot of travel is going on freeze across a lot of different communities. I mean, a lot of the different organizations and enterprises, which makes Procurement Foundry actually even more valuable right now, because you're not going to getting a lot of that networking in at those conferences that you would be getting in. So I think we're probably going to be boosting up our efforts to help in the networking side of things on the Procurement Foundry basis. So also back to the mentoring discussion. So our goal is going to be to open up a portion of our website where we'll take in mentor candidates. We're probably going to take in somewhere between 25 and 40 mentor candidates per semester in the spring and in the fall. I think we'll probably do one starting next month, and we'll run that for a few months. And we'll probably do 25 or 30 mentor candidates and then try to match them up with mentors inside of the Procurement Foundry. The overhead on that's going to be very, very light from a mentor perspective. I think we're going to ask people to guarantee that they can spend at least an hour or two with their mentor per month, which is the standard in higher education right now, in undergraduate and graduate level. And the feedback that I've gotten from some of the folks that have done that has been absolutely amazing. They've said that some of them have actually kept candidates on from last year. So I think the mentor program will be very exciting for us. And the goal, obviously, for the mentees is to get someone that might be a champion for them or an advisor for them, and potentially even help them network their way into their first role. So more to come on the mentor program for Procurement Foundry very, very soon. And then another thing that we're working on right now is our partnership with Sarah Barnes-Humphrey related to supply chain management content. So Sarah Barnes-Humphrey runs a very successful podcast called Let's Talk Supply Chain. We have been in discussions with her for quite some time, probably 3 months now, regarding the fact that we want to start to help design and develop content for supply chain management specifically with her assistance. She's very excited about the Procurement Foundry movement and about the growth that we've experienced so far, and she wants to get involved. So we have signed a collaboration content development agreement between ourselves and Let's Talk Supply Chain and Sarah specifically. So we haven't actually sat down and figured out what the content's going to look like yet, but we're going to start working on that next week. So we look forward to developing an entirely new string of content associated with supply chain management on the original content series, specific to supply chain management individuals. So there'll be a lot of logistics, there'll be a lot of freight, I'm sure the first one will be around the coronavirus and what that effect is, if not one of the first couple. So that's it right now. A couple of other housekeeping things inside of the Procurement Foundry, just so that you know. We actually this week opened up a new channel called Procure to Pay. I know, how do we have a procurement online collaboration community without a channel called Procure to Pay? I'm not really sure. I just realized that after 8 months that we didn't have it, and there was a lot of chatter in one of the rooms about that. So after some quick discussions, we opened up a channel called Procure to Pay. And the minute we did it, 50 of you jumped in and joined. So really excited about that. The hashtag for that is hashtag procure to topic underscore procure to pay. You can find that in your channel listings right now. And one other one that we're thinking about doing is we've got a ton of new folks joining Procurement Foundry right now from municipality, governmental, and academic procurement, and we're thinking about opening up a couple of channels specific to conversations around academic and municipal and governmental purchasing, so that they all have a focus point where they can go inside of the Procurement Foundry and have conversations, because we understand that those topics are really, really unique in our space. They've got some challenges that are probably different than everybody else's. So we'll probably be opening up those channels in the next couple of weeks. We've reached out to some of the folks that are pretty active inside of the community that chat inside of that on those topics. And excuse me. And so we're going to be building out those channels as well. Also, I think in the past week, we have turned on an entirely new community. I think that our Connecticut chapter is now up and live. Tina, if you're live with us right now, can you please confirm or decline if or tell us whether or not Connecticut is online? I'll broadcast it if I see it in the notes. But I'm fairly certain either Connecticut is live or going live this week or next. And then we also have Vancouver, and we've had a couple of other folks. Denver is looking. There's some folks in Denver that are looking to kick up a chapter. And I believe there's somebody in somewhere in Florida. I want to say in Jacksonville area, but I'm not sure if it's Jacksonville or Orlando area. But somebody reached out this week from Florida and is looking to put together a foundry. One of the other things too is that we've had some interest from some vendors to potentially sponsor some of our events. I know that we started off the events without having vendor sponsorship, and I know that we've had some very successful events, and we've got probably 100 of them scheduled for 2020. But I'm reaching out to all of the chapter leaders to find out whether or not this is something that they would entertain or not. I'm going to leave it at the discretion of your regional chapter vendors as to whether or not they want to get vendor engagement or not, and if they do, then I will let them handle that. Excuse me. I also know we had a very successful chapter event this past week in London. We had one in St. Louis. We had one in Texas, and we also had a meet and greet for the Scout Spark event that took place in San Francisco. We had almost 20 people at the Scout meetup. We should probably talk about Scout for a second, because I don't think a lot of you got there, but there was about well, first and foremost, Stan and the guys did a really great job. Scout looks like it's an amazing tool. I have never used it, but there is a lot of hype around Scout RFP right now. And they put on an amazing event. Michaela, head of marketing over there, Stan, Andy, and Alex and the rest of the team put on a really good event. 3 days, probably the best food I've ever had at any conference. They brought in a bunch of trucks, food trucks, and they had different stations that you could eat at. And then just the quantity of people in the room, there was about, I think, 800 or 900 people in the room, according to Michaela, and the mix was fantastic. It was a little bit heavy on the vendor side, but overall it was pretty decent. There was probably 500 or 600 practitioners there. It seemed like all of them were Procurement Foundry members. I had 3 days of human pinball where I was bouncing around talking to people, and people were stopping me and thanking me for the Procurement Foundry and asking how they can get involved. And we certainly had a spike last week. We had about 130 new members join last week while we were out there. So definitely a spike. And it was overall just a great event. We had 4 of our steering committee members at that event, which is just amazing. Dr. Eloise Epstein, who crushed the room with some really interesting information around the advancement of technology in sourcing. Dr. Eloise actually has shared with us her presentation from Scout. We're going to be posting that up in the presentation theater so that everybody can get their hands on that as well. If you didn't get to go to the Procurement Foundry, she has graciously agreed to give us her presentation so that we can see it. I think we've got a couple more Procurement Foundry members that are speaking or engaged to be speaking or have articles written about them. I know Mike from one of the Carolinas, I forgot Mike, and I apologize. I think it's the North Carolina chapter. Actually, Mike runs the North Carolina chapter, and he just was on the cover of CPO Strategy. So Mike is we're giving a shout out to him on the LinkedIn channel as well. And that's about it. That's about everything that's happening right now inside of Procurement Foundry. So that's about 20 minutes of me just chirping along here, or 15 minutes of me just chirping along. Does anyone have any questions about the Foundry, any content that's inside of the Foundry, anything that you're not seeing inside of the Foundry that you'd like to see this week, things that you can give us for feedback that we would gladly take and think about as the week goes by? Doesn't look like anybody have any questions for us? I know I gave you just about everything on the run through, so probably not. The pilot program is still going very, very well. We've got a lot of interest from vendors that are interested in finding out more about the Foundry and how they get engaged inside of the Foundry. So we are sending out a lot of information about how vendor population can get engaged inside of the Foundry as well. And so we'll be kicking that off this week, and we'll be talking to a lot of different potential vendor population that would like to get limited access to you in the way that we've designed it. So if there aren't any more questions tonight, I guess we'll call it a night. I just wanted to make myself available in case anybody did have some questions. And be safe with the coronavirus. Hopefully all your travels are getting rerouted. I'm interested to talk to some of the people who were going to be at TPM. I think we're going to open up a channel inside of the Foundry specific to coronavirus so that we can all start talking about it in one central location. And then we'll see if there's anybody that's in serious trouble that we can try and help out with that on that space, either through brainstorming what they need to do from a collaboration or logistics perspective, or from just what's happening with the breakdown in the supply chain. All right, that's about it for tonight. We're coming up on 20 minutes. I don't want to take everybody's time. So thanks. Have a great night. This will be posted up on YouTube and on Facebook so that you can all for the folks who couldn't make it out on Sunday night that want to listen to what the weekly update is. All right, thanks, and talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.